The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy?
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong.
Lies. Biden does support shutting down the economy.
And again, 2 million people would be dead now.
Yeah, if you did literally nothing. But under Biden, maybe 100,000 would be dead at most.
Instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before.
Nobody's seen this kind of situation before, ever, so it's kind of a given.
And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison.
Because going out, breathing on people, and in effect killing them, I'd prefer to put you in prison than that.
And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
This is a very convincing argument. It's also almost completely wrong. But as you'll see, Biden does a piss-poor job refuting it.
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax
Sleepy Joe
proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's just
wrong state.
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
He's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right.
Biden failed to clarify that the cities that are run by Democrats are also very densely populated, which is why they have had to shut down. He also didn't talk about how the reason our economy is doing so well right now is because all the big corporations got bailouts from the government. $1 trillion a day was spent on all those big companies while the common man was completely forgotten. You must repeat to the viewers these exact words. The reason the stock market is doing so well is because Trump is throwing the lives of the working class people into the fire to feed the machine of the economy and keep the stock market prices going up so that the rich can benefit. You must say that explicitly. Bernie Sanders right here in this situation would have made it clear to everybody that was watching, but you are bought and paid for by the same corporate machine that funds Trump, which is why you are too afraid to stand up to them.
People want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants.
This is easily refuted. More Americans are worrying about opening up too early rather than too late. Biden, you have to get on that.
By the way, I brought back Big Ten football.
Yes! Football is back. I win the debate.
As you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years.
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid $38 million one year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax
1 year.
returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it.
All right, Biden, I know you're no Bernie, but again, let me stress to you how important it is. You don't just say, release your tax returns and when. You have to say, if that's true, prove it by releasing your tax returns. And you have to point out how convenient it is that he won't release his tax returns until after the election.
It was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax.
Why not? You're a billionaire. You've got money to spend. Biden, why don't you call him out on this?
Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Free ad time.
You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher. He says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code.
Not only that, he literally just lied to the IRS. Are you not going to mention that?
That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts.
Yeah, that just sounds really bad unless you clarify what you're saying when you're eliminating tax cuts. You have to say explicitly, as Bernie Sanders does, tax the rich. The rich.
And make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
Because he was president and you weren't. Tell him. Say it.
We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me.
At this point, Bernie Sanders would talk about how we've bloated the military budget far beyond what anybody could reasonably ask for, and how we're still in the Middle East carrying on those pointless wars. Except Joe Biden is a war hawk, so he won't point that out.
Including taking care of
We're
your
talking,
vets.
Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. My economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make, the federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%.
What the fuck does that mean? You have to put things in perspective. You have to talk about how supply side economics, where you lower taxes, does not work. Your economic plan is taxing the rich and not the poor or middle class. And you have to talk about how in the 1970s, the golden age of economic expansion, the top marginal tax rate was 90%. You have to mention how there's wage slaves who are working 2 jobs and still unable to pay for their food and shelter. And you have to mention that we could solve poverty by just taxing the rich more.
You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
You have to specify that you are going to close the tax loopholes. You have to specify that redistributing wealth to the middle class and the poor will actually drive more economic expansion because those are the people who actually make better use of their money. You have to specify that you're going to give everybody a living wage because being alive is a right. You cannot simply state that you want to raise taxes and increase spending because when the American people hear that, they think big government and they think bad.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
Right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed
And,
like it's never boomed
the economy.
before.
You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
Make it clear, you're not raising taxes on the middle class.
It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929.
Biden, you've got to fact check.
It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot.
And yet you're taking credit for the jobs returning after COVID?
But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks.
First of all, the stock market does not help create jobs. In fact, it's only an indicator, basically, of how well the rich are doing. And the top 10% richest Americans own over 85% of all stocks. Joe, you need to be prepared to rattle off these facts.
If you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Joe, you need to refute that argument. It's been demonstrated time and again that the American market is so profitable that raising taxes does not drive companies away that wouldn't already have gone overseas to China anyway.
we inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
booming.
booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
Sir, is it
since
fair to,
1929.
is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact, when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole.
You idiot. Talk about how the underemployment rate was high under Trump. Talk about the national debt. Do something.
Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me, Chris. They said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs.
No, you didn't.
they brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
All right, let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going
Ohio
after
had the best year it's ever had last year.
He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before.
That's not actually true.
We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch, down
All right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. $1.5 million.
God, you can't be shutting down now. The Adderall is wearing off, isn't it?
Mr.
Look,
President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
Yes, he did, but you weren't involved with it, and that's what matters. Forget him. Just defend yourself.
He did.
Mr.
The only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank, by
embarrassed.
Come on, Joe. All you need to do is say the words conspiracy theory.
well, I'll give you the list of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because-
job.
This could have landed it if he had a little bit of a lot more energy.
Some people don't do
Well,
a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say
You get
that.
the,
here's the
wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown.
Yes.
Excuse me. This
No.
No. Mr. President.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President,
Joe.
That is simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family.
This is not
Mr.
about
President,
my
coming
family
and
or his
helping us
family.
with
It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't collect
American people.
$3.5 million
He
for
doesn't.
nothing.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you.
What? Why are you giving up this chance? You could talk about Trump's family all day, as you mentioned. You could talk about the consulting fees used as a tax write-off for Ivanka Trump. You could talk about how Jared Kushner is being hired to do jobs that he's not qualified to do. You could talk about so much of this. And yet you chose to move away from this? Are you stupid? Yes, you are. Trump won this segment easily. In fact, I think Biden just lost it for himself. He did so fucking bad. He could have crushed Trump on this issue, but instead he just dropped in and let Trump roll right over him.